Morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, this morning we are talking about all that's happening in agriculture and agricultural development on the island of Tobago. And this morning, as we have that conversation, I have the privilege of sitting with Natisha Charles Pantin, who is the Secretary for Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, we are always happy to have you here with us. This morning, we're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals and the THA because you would have brought a motion before the House in regards to aligning the Tobago Development Strategy with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the strategy that is being aligned with is called the Tobago Development Strategy, the greatest little island on the planet. Tell us a bit about that. What does that alignment look like, or what do you propose it should look like? I mean, if people watched the sitting, they would have gotten the whole, a better understanding. But for those who was not able to watch it,
Right. Well, it is a new direction that the Tobago House of Assembly is actually going to, get involved in. I mean, it is, I want to put it across as simply as I can, as simply as possible. So we are facing a number of things as it relates to climate change. And we have to start looking at the best approach if we have to protect our livelihoods in Tobago, to protect our natural resources. And we have to find a way to translate all those, those UNSDG goals, like no poverty, zero hunger, climate action, the 17 pillars, right? We have to find a way to translate that into, what we call it localization. So our country would have signed on to be part of the UN SDGs. And we in Tobago, we took the first step to align the next 7 budgets, right? It's a proposal to have the next 7 budgets, align it with the UN Sustainable Development Goals in order to achieve specific, things by 2030. So as I mentioned, no poverty, zero hunger. So all these things we have to try to achieve. And not only Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, the Cayman Islands, all those small island development states. So we are just one of many across the region. Yeah?
understood. And it says that you are trying to align with the Tobago Development Strategy,
Yes.
the greatest
Little island on the planet.
But what is that strategy? And is there a document of that strategy that persons can look through, peruse, and see what the strategy is and see how it's going to be aligned to those goals?
Of course. So the Chief Secretary would have said in the House that the document will be made available for consultation. So we are to look out for that. It would be, it would appear virtually, right, from the Office of the Chief Secretary. So very soon we'll be coming to the different stakeholders. Yeah. So we're proposing a framework that would comprise a caucus of the Executive Council, civil society, committees across the divisions, in order to implement it effectively. So we're going to translate these major goals into, several achievable goals, and it would all be informed by different stakeholders all across the Tobago House of Assembly and outside of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Right. So is it that the strategy already exists, or that consultation would take place in order to create the strategy?
Right. Well, you must carry to the people of Tobago a proposal, right? It is a summary of of recommendations from persons within Tobago, and we will be presenting it to Tobagonians, right? And they would tweak it accordingly, and then we move ahead with this strategy. Yeah.
Understand. For you, what are some of the core goals that you talked about climate change, but what are some of the core goals that you would like to see achieved from this administration in regards to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals?
Well, of course, some of the major pillars, no poverty, zero hunger, climate action, sustainable communities and cities, right? I mean, all of them are relevant, gender equality. So all of them are relevant. And in many ways, all the divisions across the assembly would have to collaborate in order to achieve these goals. We are not starting from zero. We have been actually plotting the pathway already with a lot of the projects and initiatives that the division would have been embarking on and rolling out. So I guess over the past few weeks, you would have seen the home gardening unit, right? They have been distributing seedlings and seeds across Tobago, yeah, in time for Corpus Christi. Right? You see them in the schools training children on how to do gardening and to use the hydroponic technologies and all of that. You would have seen earlier this year, we would have launched the Women Involved in Agriculture and Natural Resources Initiative. That is all part of the agenda, right? Gender equality across several things. And so I'm trying to say that it is not that we are starting from zero. Last week I attended parliamentary session focused on the same thing, and it was really surprising to see that Tobago would have gone a step ahead to utilize the standing orders, sorry, not the standing orders, to utilize the order papers in order to bring this motion on sustainable development goals. So we are ahead of the game. We already brought a motion. So I was really pleased to see that is the way all the other countries right now, they are actually going to do that. Yeah. So, and I think it's the right direction. Yesterday, someone on Facebook tagged me and they said, Secretary, things are really getting hard because of climate change. You're seeing changes in the weather patterns. You're seeing so many things. You're seeing destruction in different habitats. You're seeing migration of species. You're seeing so many things, and they could feel it now. We have been talking about climate change for many years, and now you're actually hearing people on the ground saying we are starting to feel it, right? So if we think about the next 10 years or the next 20 years, where would Tobago be if we don't start implementing those initiatives in order to soften the blow of climate change? Yeah, because regardless of what climate change will happen, right? It is happening.
Correct. And is there any educational initiatives within your division to educate staff on the Sustainable Development Goals as well as climate change and its impact?
So because of the nature of my division, all the technical staff, they are aware of climate change and what has to happen, right? But in terms of this new agenda, aligning the development budget with, the achieving these goals, we're now sort of doing that process now. So you have planning involved, you have all different, bodies coming together, the different divisions. We all have a role to play. So we're now actually doing that. So we had the motion recently, and then you're going to see, us rolling out different things. Yeah. So over the next few weeks, our division and the technical staff and, the different divisions, we will be talking to each other and building this thing out to ensure that we approach it correctly. Yeah. But as I said, the Chief Secretary mentioned consultation. So we'll get to that point very soon.
And how important is it for you to get the support from members of your division in order to really make this initiative a success?
It is extremely important. I always say that my my technical staff, they can't fake anything, right? They're well trained. We are setting up the Tobago Agriculture Research Institute and tackling climate change. That will be part of the curriculum, teaching sustainable agriculture, doing several things to ensure that we bring all our stakeholders, not only farmers, but all our stakeholders on board with what's happening, what's current, and how we could create a more sustainable future. Yeah? So we are putting things in place to ensure that Tobago is part of, that entire movement across the region.
Excellent. And we saw recently with the reshuffle that Assemblyman Sonny Craig is now in charge of carbon sequestration. How does that align with what is happening in your division, and why wasn't that placed under you, seeing that you are in charge of sustainable development?
I'll tell you something. Even though it's not, he wasn't placed under me, we understand that in order to achieve our goals in the Tobago House of Assembly, we all have to work together. As a matter of fact, many of the things that you see the Division of Agriculture doing right now, the Division of Food Security, we cannot do it on our own, right? Take, for example, I mentioned in the House, how small of a development budget I have. It is little to nothing. As a matter of fact, less than $4 million after I pay development workers' wages. So the Division of Finance would have to step in on many occasions to ensure that the division executes most of its projects, if not all. Yeah? So we must collaborate across the Tobago House of Assembly to achieve anything. So it doesn't matter where you put what, as long as we are all working together. And that's the thing. Too often we think that we can do everything as a division by ourselves. And we cannot. If we have to get into the schools, the home garden unit, we have to collaborate with the Division of Education, right? The Division of Health. If we have to achieve zero hunger, no poverty, we would have to liaise with the Division of Health. And, very, very often we talk about the cost of living and the cost of healthy living. But we have never had that discussion of what it costs to not eat healthy. Yeah? And we could get that information from the Division of Health, for example. Yeah? So while we work on the cost of healthy living, they could tell us, okay, if you don't eat healthy, this is the cost to you. Yeah? So, we can work together as divisions to achieve what we need to achieve.
Excellent. And guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back right after this.